there are moments that define our entire lives, right?
Mm.
There are decisions that we make like this which will affect everything forever. Yeah. It's it's the classic story of two brothers. One brother is an alcoholic, one is not. Ask the first brother,
Mm.
why do you drink? Because my father drank. Ask the second brother, why do you not drink? Because my father drank. Yeah. Um, Christians would, I think Christians would explain it as Jesus was already in your heart in
Mm.
order for you to make that decision at that point in time. You were already, from a Christian perspective, you're already predestined to be better and do better things. Um, Scientists would say perhaps it's programmed in the DNA. You could also say it's common sense. It's your life experience teaches you to follow a more healthy rather than an unhealthy path. And those those sometimes those little decisions make big differences. I had a friend who had an accident with a finger, and he went to the hospital, and the hospital said there's nothing we can do. So he's like, okay, well, just have to take it off, and so he now has like four
Mhm.
fingers, right?
Mhm.
But the decision to have the finger removed was a decision like this, yeah. And theoretically, it would be
Mhm.
possible to reconnect the finger and grow the tissue and go through therapy and work on it. But he made the decision to do the other thing, and it was a decision. And he himself said it's a decision that took 1 second but lasted an entire lifetime.
Mhm.
And that's the power of important decisions. Now, your father, in essence, wasn't doing anything bad because I have a personal perspective, call it a belief if you want, that people don't do bad things. I think that people do things that they think are good things,
Mhm.
but that it just might not be good for everybody, right?
Mhm.
For example, the habits that you have with your family might be good for your family, but they might not be good for other people's families, right? The habits you have for your business might be great for your business, but it might not work in other businesses. Um, so I don't think that people choose to do bad things. I think that they have been convinced or persuaded by society that what they're actually doing is a good thing. And you look back through history, there's great examples like Stalin thought he was doing great things, and Hitler thought he was
Mhm.
doing great things, Chairman Mao thought he was doing great things, and Che Guevara thought he was doing great things, and um, there's uh, there's just a misconception, a very important misconception, but it's there. So your father, I imagine, thought that he was saving you by
Yes, I
giving you
think so.
by giving you the cigarette because for two reasons. Number one, it saved him, and number two, if you didn't get it from him, you'd get it from somebody else.
Mhm.
So I imagine that was his thinking. That and if you go deeper into it psychologically, was that he never felt complete as a person, and so the things that he filled the hole in his own heart with, he figured that everybody else needed to fill the hole in their heart with as well. And because he never felt complete as a person, he was only able to pass on the skills that he had learned, the incomplete skills, to other people. And so, the tragedy of the mistakes that our parents made are that they were just copying the previous generation. That's a tragedy. The tragedy is they're not. The tragedy is that they were not wrong because it was all that they knew. That's the tragedy.
Mhm.
But there's a higher level to everything. Because if you
Um,
read through the if you read through the Bible, right, I'm pretty sure it doesn't say anywhere you need to have a really bad habit that's going to kill yourself and kill everyone else, and you need to share it with everybody.
mm,
Yeah, the question is this weakness the real personal individual character, or is it a learned habit? Because
mm,
we can learn to be strong. We can learn to be weak from observation of the world around about us. From
on
Mhm.
the on. Okay.
You conform to social norms. Okay, social norm in Slovakia. There are a large number of people who keep bees.
Mm-hmm.
There are a large number of people who do it. There's a lot of television programs about it. There's probably information on the radio. There's probably people in the local environment who do that. You get information from that. You get information from your friends. It's also a, an interesting hobby to have. Um, so it's it's also not a sign. It's also not a sign as to whether a person is a good person or a bad person. You see, good people have virtues, and bad people mirror virtues. Good people live by virtue. Bad people mirror virtue. So here's the example. This person X, keeps bees. Therefore, they must have a love or an understanding of nature. That's a non sequitur. That's a cognitive problem. That doesn't follow. A does not lead to B in this situation. The action and the result are completely disconnected. Yeah. And how can you say that? How do you know that? Okay, I actually, this is where culturally relevant information is very important, because I know a large number of people in Slovakia, and I know a few beekeepers in Slovakia,
Mm-hmm.
some of whom have virtues, I would say are very good people, and some of whom have no virtues, are actually bad people. Keeping bees is not any sign of any virtue existing within a person. The same way that helping an old lady across the road is not a sign that a person is a good person. The same way that going to church is not a sign that a person is a good person.
Mm, of course.
Yeah. So the idea that a person is a nature lover because they keep bees might that might be correct, but it might be as wrong as it is right, because it's a non sequitur. It's not a logical argument. Has bees, therefore loves nature. It's not a logical argument. It might be true, um, but what is important is what are the virtues of the person, not what are the habits, because habits are just social constructs. If there was not a community of people in Slovakia who kept bees, your father would not do that, because he wouldn't have the information, he wouldn't have the resources, and he wouldn't know about it. So it's a question whether or not, because look, there are communists who have greenhouses. Okay, right? What you
Yes.
know, there are communists who grow vegetables in their garden, right?
Mm-hmm.
And growing vegetables in your garden is a fantastically healthy and very sensible activity to do. However, communism is responsible for a lot of the mess that the planet is in. right? So our habits are not equal to our virtues because our habits are social constructs. If your kids play floorball, you know why your kids play floorball? Because you live in Slovakia. That's why they play floorball, not for
Mhm.
any other reason. Because if they lived in Britain, they would not play floorball because floorball doesn't exist as an opportunity. They would play
Of
some other
course.
sport.
Oh, of
So
course, it's cultural. Hmm.
yeah. So there's a lot of cultural constructs. Yeah. What do you need if you want to keep bees? You need a garden, you need space, you need time, you need information, you need resources, you need friends that you can call who can help you with things related to that. Um, you need time, right? Not
Hmm.
everybody has the time to do it, so you got to fill your time with something constructive. Um, in essence, most habits are just time fillers.
Yes, maybe my
Yeah.
brother will smoke less.
Oh yeah, that's
Mm.
I don't know. It's it's that point of choice because back to the smoking when people are young, what sticks in the back of my mind is that when I pointed out that it's a problem with the parents and there's a hole in the heart, the response that I got was about secrets. Secrets. He kept it a secret from his parents until he was 20. Yeah. You cleaned out the ashtray. Do you know why you cleaned out the ashtray? To cover the tracks, to
Cover the
hide
tracks.
to hide the habit,
Hmm.
to cover the tracks, to hide the habit. You were not hiding your own habit. You didn't have to because you were hiding his habit. You didn't need the habit because he had the habit. Yeah? You didn't need to cover your tracks because you were covering his tracks. Your love for him was greater than your love for yourself at that point in time. And that's natural, right? Because all kids know is how to keep their parents happy, right? And in general, you get a little bit of a broader perspective of the world from media and hopefully, but but the reason the reason why children think they exist is to keep their parents happy in general. Um, so so children will naturally help their parents with their social construct and presentation. It's just an extreme example of how you tidy your house when visitors come around. Yeah,
Mm.
we all tidy our house and or wear your nicest clothes to go to church or, just put on makeup before going out. Um, yeah, and nothing wrong with these things. They're they're all they're all little social projections. There's nothing wrong with them. They, they they can help. The argument is how do you progress in society without these things? I don't know. It's difficult. I don't know what's right for everybody. Somebody somewhere has decided that they think this is great for everybody. So okay. So okay. Um, but the self-knowledge, which I think is the key to personal success, is vital in understanding the smoking principle because those who have more self-knowledge tend not to smoke
Mm.
because they understand not just what it does to understanding what it does to yourself is one thing. You want to poison yourself, that's okay. but understanding the effect of what you have has on the world is something different. That's a higher level of self-knowledge and being responsible for that. Because there are probably the trouble is words and actions. The trouble is words and actions. Because parents will say, "Oh, I know that our son smokes. I know that my son smokes because I smoke." And then on to the next topic. You know, wow. Okay.
Mm.
Right. I know my son's a killer because I'm a killer. And on to the next topic. Right. Now that's
Mhm.
an extreme example, but you know, you could say, I know my son plays football because I play football.
Mhm.
But it requires a little bit of stop and think. It requires a little bit of self-analysis, and it also requires some self-confidence. Not everybody has the self-confidence to stop smoking. That self-belief. You know, what is it what is it Christians say? We love because Jesus first loved us.
Um,
Yeah, it's like I often hear Christians say we love because Jesus first loved us.
mhm.
Now, of course, that's a very vague statement, which means a lot of things to different people. But in my mind, I follow that with, yeah, but you didn't learn anything. Right?
Mhm.
Right. It's not, life is not just about loving. It's more complex. It's also about learning.
Mm.
Yeah. And hopefully, if you show more love and care and effort and understanding, you learn more. You develop more. You develop more empathy. You learn to control, or people learn to control their own ego. Yeah, they're much less led by the negative side of self, which is the seven deadly sins in the Christian perspective. It's the greed and the gluttony and what are the seven sins? What are the seven bad things that Christians should not do? I should know
Uh,
this automatically. My brain is dun, dun, dun. Let me just check this. The seven bad things. Where's that? Lust, gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, envy, and pride. Yeah. So, you should not.
Lisa. Mhm.
Yeah. So the seven sins. So you should not want for things that you haven't earned. You shouldn't um, take too much of something. You shouldn't consume too much of the wrong thing. You shouldn't be lazy. You shouldn't be too angry at people for them just being themselves. You shouldn't be envious. You shouldn't want for what other people have. Um, and the pride is the final one, which is over overestimating your own abilities, really. And that goes back to the first thing that we talked about, which was over management. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, which is connected to pride, which doesn't just affect businesses, it also affects families. Because there's a positive and negative side to it. Parents want to be proud of their children's achievements, but you don't want pride to be the goal. And so as a result, you want to be proud of whatever level they rise to. You want it to be a good level. You want to set a good example, of course, with that. Like thank you. I wanted to say thank you for sending me the little video of your children doing the music at it's the end of your performance or
Yes.
something like that. Yeah, it was really really nice, really really nice, and
Mm.
Um, God, you could feel the tension the, in
Mm.
the air. Like everyone is quiet, and everyone is watching, and you could see the concentration on your children's faces, and you could see the calm and relaxed attitude of the coach or the teacher or the tutor who was on the stage trying to encourage them. What were your feelings there?